What's the vibe, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Running Off the Screen. I'm the man they call Mac, and I am honored to be joined by two of the best, most hardest working men in NBA and Raptors media, a tag team I dub Double Dragon, Esfandiar Baraheni, and Samson Folk. How you guys doing?
I did not see that coming.
Double Dragon is a very interesting moniker. But yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take any moniker at any point in time. People just call me whatever you want. I'm trying to create a digital footprint here.
Okay, Google Double Dragon and tell me you guys couldn't like see someone like photoshopping your faces onto that pose.
Let me see. I'm curious.
Who's the quickest on the gun?
Let's see. Double Dragon.
Okay.
Like the video game? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, I got you.
Is this because I was saying I was going to put him in a calf slicer at the party?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that led to it. Yeah, I was like, what can I tie this into?
Couple fighters. I see it.
That's funny.
You don't know what Double Dragon is?
I've never played the game. I don't think I have, no.
Oh my. I grew up with that.
Is this an arcade game? I'm pretty sure this is.
Yeah, it was an arcade game, and I had it for Nintendo. And yeah, I'm surprised you guys didn't even know about that. Damn.
I never played arcade games. I was told they were witchcraft. I grew up in a really Christian town.
Okay, anyway. I shouldn't laugh, but okay, let's get this underway. You guys attended Raptors Media Day, and you guys asked a great assortment of questions. And I was wondering if you guys could break down 3 or so moments that stood out the most to you throughout the whole experience. It might not even be the questions, right? And most importantly, do you feel the blinding bright lights were foreshadowing a bright future ahead for this squad?
Oh.
And I'll start with S.
Okay. I mean, wow, the blinding bright lights. I like that. I like that a lot, Mac. The 3 takeaways I would probably have is that Fred seemed healthy from what he mentioned and how he felt. He seemed a lot more healthy and spry, if you will. So that's good heading into this season. And I think, on top of that, the 2 things that I thought were very interesting from Nick Nurse and crew, like from all of them, it just seemed like they were adaptable, if you will. Like they seemed like they were very flexible and they were looking to kind of change a couple of things, maybe add a couple of layers to what they were doing. Obviously with a couple of additions that they have in Otto Porter Jr. and Christian Coloco, that kind of changes a couple of things that they can do, adds more depth. And with that, I think they understand that they can probably be a little bit more, flexible and versatile in what they do. And I think that, one of the things that was really mentioned is the whole minutes thing between Siakam and Vanvleet. That was brought up a lot, and I think there were a lot of reassurances and assurances that, hey, we're gonna take care of that. So those are my main takeaways there. But yeah,
do you feel that is a good way to look at it? Like just saying that the minutes are going to go down is going to go down, or do you think we did enough in the off season to make that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, with Media Day, there's always, and I'm learning this too, but it seems like it's just they want to give the right answer or the answer that, they want people to hear. I think that applies to every NBA team, just going through what everybody else has said. It's always, it's first day of school vibes. You want to make sure you leave the best impression and you don't want to say anything that you don't want to, walk back. So yeah, they're going to say they're going to play less minutes, and then maybe halfway through the season, those end of bench guys aren't cutting it, and you see those guys' minutes go back up. But yeah, it's true that comment could totally, flip on its head and be something completely different.
And Samson?
Yeah, I'll address the minutes thing. So this kind of been my idea of how it'll shake out, but if the Raptors find success, it hinges on a couple things. If Malachi Flynn is a guy who can lift up subpar role partners, which he has not been, not even remotely close to this point, which isn't really his fault, that's a big ask of a young player, then they can run some bench minutes that way. They can cut down Fred's minutes that way, even Pascal's to some degree. That's an opportunity there. I don't think that's likely. What seems more likely is that the Raptors lean farther into their no-guard lineups, which last year won a ton of minutes, but were more of a curveball, a changeup, a knuckleball, whatever, off speed. and that kind of stuff. They rebounded the hell out of the ball. They didn't let anybody get to the rim, and they created a lot of turnovers, so they got to buoy their offense. The lack of guard skills, shooting, that kind of stuff with more transition. And so signing guys like Otto Porter Jr., bringing Thad Young back, Chris Boucher back, who knows? We'll talk about it later, obviously, what the roster ends up looking like. But of the certified rotation pieces, they have the guys to run out more of those lineups, and that could be the sell for less Fred minutes. Although it's less determined if that will lower Pascal's minutes.
Does that? I just have a question here. Did the massive lineup, did that include Scottie or not include Scottie? It did,
yeah,
right?
So yeah, it was largely. It's typically a 4-man lineup that came with the variation on the 5th player, and late in the season that variation was that. Earlier on in the season, it could have been Delano or Gary, and Gary, he's still a guard, but they were still playing that similar size.
Yeah.
And but it was typically Boucher, Achua, Pascal, and Scottie. And then so the well, anyway, yeah, the Funky Fest quartet, as it were. My big takeaways, it was interesting that the same way that we talk about each other when we do our work, we want to uplift each other, and we were like, hey, these guys do good work. Hell yeah. Yep. The Raptors did a lot of big upping to coaches, to players, teammates, all that kind of stuff. And Gary didn't get a mention from anybody. Now, that could be nothing. It absolutely could be nothing. But this has been not even just media day, but end of season press conferences and stuff like that, where Masai does not mention Gary in the nucleus, in the future plans. Nick Nurse didn't talk about it. OG's not talking about Gary the way, and Scottie isn't talking about Gary the way that OG and Scottie talk about each other. Pascal's talking about Fred. Fred's talking about Pascal. Masai's talking about Precious. Gary got left out of all of that kind of stuff. And that doesn't have to mean anything, because Gary doesn't do much talking in media anyway. He's trying to keep it to one line. He's trying to get out of there mostly. And maybe that's the players respecting his. They're just like, hey, maybe he doesn't want to be talked about. Who knows? That was interesting. Another interesting thing was probably that, media day, something everybody learns is that you're not going to get exactly what you want out of it. And that's why I think a lot of the better questions can be kind of like the fun fluff stuff, like, hey, who gets the aux cord? Tell us who has the worst taste in music. Because, I come off like a head ass when I'm like, hey, Pascal, how much pick and roll do you run? And he's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get better. And I'm not getting the answer I want. And he's not getting the question he wants at that point in the press conference or anything like that. And then thirdly, yeah, the minutes is probably interesting, because there are some avenues to success for that, but Nick Nurse did not feel like he wanted to divulge any of his plans for it. Just like, hey, I'll play him less. Does that make you happy? Which was a funny answer, but he's not.
He kept saying new ideas. He's like, yeah, we're going to incorporate some new ideas. We have a couple of new ideas, and we like that. And then Fred said, hey, we have new ideas. We have new things we want to do. It's like, okay, but I guess we'll just believe in things and ideas, But
yeah, man, that's. Everybody wants you just to say that things are coming, not to be specific. It's like, it could be anything. It could be a boat, whatever, like that old joke.
So you guys don't have the faith in Pro-Am Flim? Or I know almost every other podcast I do, I kind of poke at him, but I feel like this is the best opportunity he's ever gonna get. Right, like at this point, we need that backup point who can score, who can break down defenders. In college, he was good. He was a good defender, good in the pick and roll. And now that we have a natural big, you don't think that this is his, isn't this served up on a platter for him at this point?
Well, are we expecting a rookie big man who wasn't an outstanding roller in college? That doesn't mean he was bad in college. It's just that wasn't one of the major features of his game to be the player who makes the difference for Malachi Flynn. I don't think it's a referendum on either of them that won't be the answer, but that I just don't really see that as the answer, which is tough because Malachi definitely has all the skills. He plays good enough defense at the guard position to be in the NBA. It just seems like the Raptors aren't interested in being kind of like the incubator for his skills. They want him to fit in with them despite him not having the same inherent advantages physically that a lot of the guys at the back end of the bench do, and that he doesn't have help in the form of a good roller or anything like that. Maybe he develops something with that, but that short roll stuff is a lot more dependent on shooting, because you get a guy in the middle of the floor and you play those cat and mouse games where it's shooting or cutting from the baseline and stuff like that. But if it's Delano Banton on the wing on a bench lineup, why would the defender ever cheat out there? Like, he can just hang in and you can just be facing two guys in the paint on the short roll instead of one, and maybe a guy cutting in or having space to shoot and all that kind of stuff. So other developments have to happen on the roster outside of Malachi, because I don't think he's so good that he can transform other dudes, basically. And I don't mean to like poo-poo on him. I think he's an NBA level player. It's just he's in a tough spot.
I hate to psychoanalyze, and I don't want to, but I really don't want to. It's going to be the worst thing. But like, a lot of shooting does come with confidence. And I think that isn't displayed often with him. Again, it's going to sound like I'm psychoanalyzing, but it doesn't seem like the pull-up shooting has translated. It hasn't translated. And I think the shooting in general, like Samson mentioned, is something that just opens up so much more for him. That's why in the pro-ams you see him cooking so much, is because his jumper is opening up so many different opportunities for him to do other things. Yes, it's a pro-am, but like, there's still that idea of what he can bring on the basketball court, and it really is dependent on that jump shot. If that jump shot isn't hitting and he can't get it to a sustainable level, then a lot of the pick and roll things, a lot of the finding a guy who can be a roller for you, that's negated at that point, because it doesn't matter if the shooting doesn't translate, which it hasn't. And I don't know if that's gonna kind of just flip a switch in year 3 and it completely changes, and he's maybe with a more consistent role. Maybe that's been the issue over the last couple of years. Obviously, him being in and out of the lineup, not getting minutes here and there, something more consistent could probably help with that confidence and getting his shot to a respectable level. But I'm not sure. I don't think that's gonna happen. And like Samson said, I do think he's an NBA guy, but it's just the situation and the context of what the Raptors are right now.
So at this point, is Delano Banton ahead of him as far as your depth chart for a backup point? Like, how do you rank them right now?
I don't think they. Yeah, I don't even think they kind of like look at it as like those are the two guards that we're gonna throw behind Fred. I think they probably think, look, like lead ball handlers. Who do we have? We have Fred. Yeah. We have Pascal. We have Scottie. How can Fred carry lineups? How can Pascal be the ball handler in a couple of lineups? How can Scottie be the ball handler, the primary guy, the initiator in a couple of lineups? So I think it's those guys, and then after that, it's like, okay, cool. Delano can carry the rock a little bit. Malachi can carry the rock a little bit. So there's a pecking order that's even ahead of them. Like, I don't think Malachi and Delano will get those type of reps. I think the key thing with Delano, and me and Samson have talked about this off pod, but it's like him being more of an off ball guy, like quote unquote, I'm going to use a Samson term here, punching gaps and attacking closeouts. No, seriously though, like him attacking closeouts off ball is probably like the way to go for Delano trajectory wise. And if he can get to that level where he's, being a guy who consistently applies pressure to the rim, I think that's the way to go for Delano. It's not really being that ball handler, pick and roll initiator type. I don't think that projects well for him, like just moving forward in his career. So
you think Delano's more Kyle Anderson than a Sean Livingston at this point? Remember rookie Sean Livingston? He was a straight up point guard, pick and rolls.
Yeah.
But Kyle Anderson's more of that connector. He can be in the high post. You give him the ball, he'll pass it out quick and keep the ball moving. So you don't think Delano's like a traditional
like
point?
Yeah. I don't think so, no. But I mean, it's also weird because I don't think he's necessarily slow-mo either. I think he brings a certain level of athleticism that slow-mo doesn't have.
Yeah.
In just the sense that like he's like a gazelle in transition, and he knows how to run and kind of like fill a lane. So there's certain things that he can do that slow-mo can't. But then on the other side, Kyle Anderson is probably a better playmaker, a more concise connector, if you will, right now. Maybe Delano gets there, but I'm not necessarily sold on that. I'm excited for Delano's season, to be honest with you, and I think I'm a little bit more quote unquote high on Delano than Malachi, just because I think he has more skills off of the ball than what Malachi might be able to do. I think Malachi is he needs a screen, and in order to do that, you need a couple of partners who can do that for you and roll hard and be a good short roller and et cetera, et cetera. And it's just, it's too reliant on the other guys, where Delano can kind of, I don't know how to explain it really in a way that makes sense to me, but Delano can kind of just fit in a lot better with the system than what Malachi can.
So my worry typically with Delano, and like he's on a partially guaranteed contract. None of that has been confirmed.
Yeah.
The Raptors were, Delano was playing against sub NBA level talent. Like Nurse wasn't with Team Canada. None of the big guys were. Everybody left, but Delano stayed behind because Delano, it seems, it's quite apparent that he sees the Raptors depth chart. He saw that Thad found his niche, 1 minute in it, that they added Otto Porter Jr., who is obviously a winning player, obviously a part of the rotation. And Delano was a guy who last year got touches because the Raptors were thin. I think the Raptors ideally probably would have just had Delano fully 905, like a guy just working on his game consistently. And because when the Raptors gave Delano the ball, if it wasn't in transition, it was a train wreck. He cannot create advantage. He doesn't have a shot to bring hard closeouts, so that when he puts the ball on the floor, he has like a step towards the paint and like his extra bit of handle to use the extra dribble to move the defense a little bit more, or his passing flair can kind of pop off. He also had some nice finishes in transition, in traffic as well. But seeing guys like Thad and Otto come on, and that this Raptors team will want, especially after last season, Fred went from being one of the best shooters in the league, truly like a top 5 guy, to his body breaking down because of minutes, because of load, to where he couldn't even impact the playoff series, right? And that's not even to mention the defensive end. The Raptors want to win those minutes so they can rest their guys. Delano has to either be like much better defensively at the point of attack as an off-ball guy, so that he can be more effective than a guy like Thad, than a guy like Otto Porter Jr. That's tough. And Thad, they run so much like dribble handoff, delay action through him. He's such a great connective piece. He even hits the corner 3. Like, he's such an obvious fit. And same with Otto Porter Jr., right? Like, this stuff is so intuitive to play those guys. And Delano, it's not as easy to make this Raptors team as it was to make last year's. And Delano needs to make a jump to really get his foot in the door again, because it's not as, like, the Raptors very clearly are more interested. Like, Scottie sped up the timeline. Pascal got all NBA again. Fred at his best was an all-star. You have to hit the go button on that team. And Delano, unless he improves, isn't part of that go. So I need to see him in training camp. Well, I won't see him in training camp. Aiden Moss, call him Raptors Republic. We'll see him in training camp. But we need to see the preseason. We need to see how that goes and all that kind of stuff. But he definitely has an inside track for sure, because he's from Toronto. People love him. He has the measurements. He wants to push pace, all that kind of stuff. I'm being long-winded now, but yeah, I'm very curious to see how things shake out for Delano.
I'll add this real quick. I think like Nurse is still going to run a tight rotation also. So being able to crack that rotation is, to Samson's point, going to be a lot harder. I've said this anytime I've been asked, but it's like the Raptors will probably play 9 guys, 9.5 maybe. Just depending on like if Malachi or Delano can play some spot minutes for you. But it's 9 guys really. And I don't think, like Samson said, those guys are going to develop the specific skills necessary to be a part of that 9. And like, does it make sense to play them over any of those guys? That's a good question to ask, because it's probably not.
Yeah, we're at a tough point in the year. Somebody's heart's going to be broken by the end of preseason, right? And training camp is underway. Like we mentioned, preseason is around the corner. And, this competitive, warlike survival instincts is going to be at an all-time high. So I'm curious, out of Delano Banton, Justin Champagny, DJ Wilson, Gabe Brown, Josh Jackson, who do you guys feel will make the final roster? And I left Juancho out of that list because of his guarantee. I think he has like a substantial head start, you know. So let's get back to those names I mentioned. Like, who do you think will make the final roster? And I'll start with Samson.
Yeah, and just to your point, like Nick and Pascal both talked about Juancho as well as part of the situation the Raptors have going on. So that adds some credence to your thoughts. But the guarantee obviously is pretty huge. So I would expect Justin Champagnie to hang around. He has, despite being a little bit smaller in stature, I think he's 6'6" instead of like, you know, he's on the smaller end of the Raptors' big wings. But he also plays quite a bit bigger. He's very, very sturdy at his size. He's able to impact the boards a lot. He scaled up his three-point shooting in a pinch and did it at a really high level. We didn't really see it in Summer League, but Summer League is such a wash. I think that G League games are a better indicator of where a guy's at than Summer League. And Justin Champagnie was too good for the G League. And I expect him to be good enough to make a Raptors roster. DJ Wilson is also a guy who's too good for the G League, but he's not the offensive rebounder that Justin Champagnie is. He hasn't been able to ramp up his three-point shooting that way that Justin Champagnie has. And, you know, his technique defensively, probably he's been around for a lot longer than Justin Champagnie has. So why would people bet on that? Josh Jackson, I don't think he has really a shot. If he shoots the hell out of the ball, then there you go. But he has the least confidence I've ever seen given to a player. Like the Exhibit 9 contract is not, that means that the Raptors don't have to pay him if he gets injured. Like Gabe Brown, if he gets injured at camp, the Raptors have to pay him and keep him on roster until he's healthy. The Exhibit 9 that Josh Jackson signed, no such protections. Like it's a non-guaranteed with another non-guarantee tagged on it. Like that's a flyer if I've ever seen one. Gabe Brown, I hope he ends up on the 905. I think he's like his shot, that lefty stroke is pretty nice. Talked about punching gaps. I think that there's some potential that he can do that at the 905, maybe at the NBA level. And he's got the size to hang. Who else am I missing there? Am I missing anybody?
Delano,
I think
Delano.
Delano will factor in somehow. I'm not sure exactly what it looks like, but yeah, it's a toss-up between Champagnie and Delano to me, between who's kind of hanging and who's willing to do 905, or if they try their luck with another team at some point. I'm not really sure.
Yes?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think unless Josh Jackson goes absolutely nuclear in training camp, like hits every single three possible, then I don't think that's gonna happen. The thing with DJ Wilson for me is that it would give a certain level of redundancy with the roster. I mean, you just have too many guys who are, in my opinion, like these slow, clunky big man type in him and Kem. I think that's probably a little bit too redundant. And I think he doesn't do the stuff that Kem does as well as Kem does. So if you have a guy like that already, you probably just don't need a DJ Wilson. Although I do think DJ is probably good enough to end up on another roster. Even when he was gone from the Raptors last year, I believe it was OKC, if I'm not wrong. He was playing on OKC. So yeah, he's definitely going to end up on a roster somewhere. And on top of that, I think just Champagnie is the guy, in my opinion, of this little bunch that has the best chance to crack the rotation, just because of the way the Raptors like to play. And he is this offensive rebounding machine for the size that he is. He's this, like Samson mentioned, a 6'6" guy who's probably a little bit smaller, but he can rebound the hell out of the ball. And the Raptors, that's obviously a really important part of what they do. If he can just give you a couple of minutes here and there, maybe he's that half that I was talking about in the 9.5 man rotation. Like that could possibly happen by the end of the season. So yeah, I think Champagnie has the edge here. And I think, we've all talked about it, but I'd imagine Delano also makes the roster. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I have the same two as well, Delano and Champagnie. And I think also the continuity aspect of it too is a major factor. It's pretty clear that this season, I think one of you mentioned it before, this season is one where the Raptors just want to hit the ground running. No experiments, no growing pains. They just want to get it and go. So the best way to do that is get people who are in your system. They understand what you want, what's needed of them, and people who excel in their roles. And I think Delano and Champagny bring that. Now, a dark horse for me would be Gabe Brown, of course, because who wouldn't want more shooting? And he gives me like a CJ Miles-esque demeanor to his play style.
It's the lefty jumper.
Yeah. And they have the same form too. Like, it's pretty similar. Yeah.
Might I add that I think that it's a possibility that the Raptors could shake up their two-way situation, and we could see Gabe Brown on a two-way instead of Ron Harper Jr.
That's a good point. So who's out in the two-way then? Oh, Ron Harper Jr. You said.
Yeah. It would be more believable to see Jeff Delton and Gabe Brown than Gabe Brown and Ron Harper Jr. in my opinion. But also with that stuff, if they don't feel that great about either guy, because two ways are so, it might come down to like whoever's organizing the 905. Who do they like better at the G League level? Because they want to win games there too.
Exactly.
And like if Jeff Delton is a guy they say, man, Jeff Delton is going to, beast and feast as a ball handler at the G League level. We'd love to have a guy like that. He also defended really well at the G League level last year too. So,
Bubble MVP, right? So.
Yeah. And so maybe if they're like, hey, that guy can do that, Ron Harper Jr. is maybe a bit more of an unknown, and the shot isn't popping off the way they want it to or whatever. Like Ron Harper, who knows what happens? But yeah, I think that's a possibility as well.
That's a good point. Okay, so in this next topic, I would like to hear your thought process as a coach. I'm gonna map out a game scenario for you.
Samson's gonna dust me in this, but it's okay. Go ahead.
We're gonna break down. I'm gonna give you a lineup, like a breakdown, and you're gonna have to like play a lineup and just lead your team to victory. Okay. And I want people in the comments to join in as well. If you've made it this far through into the episode, listen to the stipulations and then make your lineup. So it goes as follows. We're in Game 7 of the NBA Finals in a rematch against the Golden State Warriors. Wow. You are the lead assistant for the Toronto Raptors. Nick Nurse has been ejected from the game, and you are tasked to run the team. There are 10 seconds left in the game. You are down 2 points and get the possession at the half court after the timeout. Now, Pascal and Fred have fouled out. Draymond has 5 fouls. Steph has 5 fouls. No other Warriors are in foul trouble. So it's Curry, Poole, Thompson, Wiggins, and Green on the court defending. Who is in your final lineup, and what is the play call, and what player gets the final shot? And we'll start with S. But if you want me to repeat anything, let me know.
No, okay. So just for clarity's sake, 10 seconds left, right?
Yes.
Down 2. Mm-hmm. Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Pascal fouled out. Fred fouled out.
Yes.
You've got Poole, Wiggins, pretty much the Warriors' death lineup, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me see what I can do. Let me see what kind of magic we can work here. So, I'd go. I think you'd have to keep Scottie and OG on there. Absolutely, those are the locks for me. I think in terms of shot making, you'd probably want Gary in there as well, because 10 seconds left. You gotta be able to get a shot off, and maybe Gary can pull one of his highly contested shots out of there. And I think from there you probably go Precious. I'd have to, just because maybe there's an opening, and his size and athleticism can get him to the rim in a quick little punch. Let me see what else. And that's 4 guys, right? Who else would I have as the 5th guy? Chris Boucher.
Nice.
Christopher Boucher for sure. I think in terms of who gets the final shot, and I guarantee you Samson is going to come up with some next type of play that is just going to blow what I want to do out the. But I'm gonna set up a very, very simple pick and roll, if you will. But it wouldn't be. It would. Damn. Actually, I don't know if I want to do a pick and roll with Scottie. Let's do this. Actually, a dribble handoff. That's nice. What I would do. I would set up a dribble handoff at the top of the key. Let's go Scottie and OG, with OG as the screener. Actually, as with Scottie as the guy handing it off, right? And then we'll see what happens. let's see what the play, kind of transpires from there. So it would be dribble handoff, Scottie and OG, whoever gets a shot, go for it, and see if you can find a guy open and go from there.
I like that. So do you think? Oops, sorry, I got too excited. But do you think Steph Curry would be on Scottie Barnes in that situation? Or do you think they would tuck him away on Gary?
No, they'd hide him on Gary. Yeah, they would probably hide him on Gary. Like Gary probably be camped out in the corner, and then what you do is, Draymond has 5 fouls, so maybe you just go straight to the rim and hope they call a foul on a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA Finals in Game 7. But sorry, one Player of the Year, but I doubt it. I doubt that they call the foul in that moment. But yeah, I think like a dribble handoff with Scottie and OG. Scottie obviously having the burst to be able to get to the rim if necessary, and if you do like a fake DHO, then you can get to the rim that way. I doubt they'd fall for the fake DHO there. They probably just switch and deal with the circumstances. But yeah, I think that's how it goes. Samson,
honestly, when I was writing up that question, my first thought was fake DHO with Scottie and OG. That was my first thing, yeah. And then if Gary ends up being open in the corner because they're coming to help, there's your shot, yeah.
Yeah. See, this is why it's probably, yeah, the JV play, exactly.
Yeah.
But this is probably why it wouldn't work, because it's the first play everybody would think about. So Steve Kerr's got a counter for that, and turnover, Warriors win. But anyways, Samson, go ahead.
Okay, so the 5-man lineup is OG, Scottie, Precious, Boucher, and Gary. And so Precious and Boucher are below the free throw line. That much seems clear to me. You can put them in the corner if you want, but I'd probably put Boucher in the corner, tell him to crash the glass like hell. I would put Precious in the dunker spot on the weak side, and I would put OG in the opposite corner. And so you can run, and actually just to plug the piece that came out today, I had the plays where Scottie with either Fred or Gary was running the ghost screen play, the 1-4 ghost screen or 4-1 ghost screen that they run with Pascal, that they ran with Scottie. And so you can do a couple of things with Gary down the stretch. The Raptors have tried it last season where they did you inbound to Pascal. Pascal's above the break. You run some of that DHO action. Gary comes over the top, and typically he gets a switch, and Gary is going to have to try and either get to the rim against the big, which is typically a bad idea. We saw it fail against Joel Embiid, or try and make a shot. And that's as good a chance as anything, really. Gary taking a jumper, if he's on a heater, maybe you win the game. We've seen that happen before. Yeah. But what I do for sure is I try and get the ball to Scottie off the inbounds. You curl up into open space, he gets it there and brings it to the far side from where you inbound it. Run that ghost play with Gary. If Gary's open, then hell yeah. As we said though, somebody's going to try and hide on Gary. So either Scottie is going to get the edge because he has a screen and there's typically that halt that the defenders are there, or they're going to switch one of Poole or Curry on the Scottie. And in that case, let's
Beast.
Just go
Scottie, it's his ability to get into the paint where whatever Draymond is doing lurking, he's probably going to be guarding OG. OG is an incredible cutter. If Draymond comes up, Precious, Boucher, OG are crashing glass if that shot goes up. And if not, they're cutting behind Green, and Barnes with a guard on him can pick out a pass. Yeah. In my opinion, I think that would be good. If Scottie doesn't like let's say they don't switch the action, maybe they switch the action, he doesn't like what's looking, I put Precious to come out onto OG's guy and a pin down for OG to come up to get the ball to either take a shot or to curl and try and get something at the basket. That's my draw on a play.
So I think getting Gary's man involved is the way to go. And that's because obviously they're going to hide someone on him. And if damn it, now I want it. Yeah, it makes sense. God.
So you would rather give...
There's a bunch of different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think... Yeah, I would probably do that. At least the way Samson explained it, it makes so much sense. But I don't know.
I think the best is
What?
if it could be game 6, the ball comes to Pascal, and he's guarded one-on-one by Draymond. He's like,
Oh, again?
Oh, yeah,
The Euro? Little
I
floater.
mean, you know, you don't change things until you have to change things. But obviously, it's fouled out. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up that Pascal hit a game winner in the finals, people.
Yeah.
Can we acknowledge that, please?
They don't talk about that enough. That should be on like NBA like reels, you know?
Yes, dude.
Oh man, that was an amazing answer by both of you. So to sum it up, as said, get Scottie Barnes going downhill.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, it's an action involving Scottie and OG, and I think that's the way I would do it. But yeah.
See, I like that take because you could draw a foul, you could find an open guy because he has a good vision, and then Samson saying, whoever has the weakest defender on them, give him the shot. Most likely, it's gonna be Gary. Is that more or less what you?
Yeah, like
Nice little goal screen.
We both wanted Scottie to be able to get downhill as an option because anytime you're running a screening action, it means that the guy on ball is option number 1. Like that's the rule of thumb for anything except for John Stockton, but nobody likes John Stockton anyway. So yeah, you want to get Scottie downhill. Me and S are thinking the same thing there. We just went a little bit different about the secondary.
How you get that other guy open. I think the other way would be like maybe you run something with Gary, and have him be like maybe you run a pin down for Gary. Like, is that another option there that you can run? I don't know if that's necessarily what I'd do because like catch and shoot Gary is different than pull up 35 feet out Gary. But I don't know. Now I'm just spitballing here, but yeah.
Perfect. So I think this is the last segment. Final topic. And it was inspired by a podcast I listened to called Pick a Side Podcast. And they do a segment called Would You Rather, where they pick a player and then they name a list of players to compare them to, and then you select who's better out of the two. And I figure we do a Raptors inspired version. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll say the two names, and then we'll go S will give his answer, and then Samson will give his answer, and we'll go like that. And then if you guys want to provide an explanation, go ahead. Okay, so so the first name on the list is Fred VanVleet. So would you rather Fred VanVleet or Darius Garland?
Fred. Oh fuck God. Wait, are we just doing right now? Like
everything is current. Yeah, everything's current.
Yeah. Give me Darius Garland, man. Damn it. Yeah, give me Darius Garland. I know it sucks.
Okay, Samson.
This year, let me take Fred. Just because of the defense, honestly. And also because the Raptors. So Darius Garland is one of the best pick and roll engines in the NBA, but also that hinges a little bit somewhat on who his bigs are. And I don't mean that to say that he's reliant on his bigs. I just mean that to say that he definitely wouldn't have the same options available to him spamming the pick and roll, with the Raptors or whatever. So if this is Raptor centric, let me keep Fred and let Fred be the insane off-ball shooter more often this year, next to guys like Scottie and Pascal and all that going on. So yeah,
are we picking them in the context of the Raptors this year? Like if we were just swap these two players?
Yes.
Okay, then my answer would change.
Okay,
then my answer would change. But the player that I would pick, if you just tell me, hey, tomorrow you have to make a team, I'm picking Darius Garland. But yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, next one: Fred VanVleet or Jamal Murray?
I think I would still go Fred in this situation. I like Jamal. I think he is a very good, he can get to his shots. He's very good at snaking the pick and roll. And with Jokic, he's very, very adept at playing that 2-man game with him. It's really fun to watch. But again, I don't know if it would work as well as a guy like Fred would, playing off ball, being your pick and roll guy as well, doing a little bit of the on ball duties. So yeah, I would pick Fred in that situation. See, now it's changed for me. Now the whole context of the situation has changed because we're picking them and swapping them into what the Raptors are today. But yeah,
I'm taking Jamal, dude.
I like it.
I think Jamal, Louis Zatzman was very early. Before Fred got the NBA Finals vote, before Fred was even in the starting lineup, he proclaimed in a 2019 article that Fred VanVleet was an all-NBA level defender. Pretty good call. He was also doing something similar with Jamal Murray before the bubble, before everything went sideways for his career, those injuries. Jamal getting to that jumper, the way he can play off of bigs who can pass, and his defensive utility, I would take Jamal, with the understanding that he's healthy. I think Jamal is fantastic. So, yeah, I would take Jamal.
Does Jamal crack top 30 this year? This is a different conversation. But
if he has a healthy year, he absolutely could. Yeah, like, I could see him just drowning dudes in buckets with Jokic. Like, Jokic has been like the Nuggets had bad spacing last year. Relative to a lot of teams, Jokic was working out of a closet the same way that a few other NBA players were. And Murray, if Murray is back to being that dude, it's like the closet is now, like a basketball court. It's just, there's a lot.
I mean, and they have Michael Porter Jr. there lurking too.
Yeah, we gotta see about him, dude.
Yeah, that back. Okay, next one. Fred VanVleet, Jrue Holiday.
Okay, for this one, I will very easily say Fred VanVleet.
Piece of cake, yeah. Let me slam that with this.
Yeah, I think. Look, they're. I guess they're similar in the sense that they're like two-way bully, like very sturdy point of attack guards that just can defend the heck out of the ball. But I like what Fred does more offensively than what Jrue does, and I think the defense is comparable in my opinion. So I'll go Fred.
Yeah, I think if Giannis got to play like 6 games with Fred, he'd be like, "Daggone, like that's real nice. I like what you do shooting that thing." I think that would be the case. Yeah. Not to say that Jrue is bad. Jrue is still very good. I just think that Fred clears for sure.
Okay, so Fred VanVleet, Tyrese Haliburton.
I'm still taking Fred. Yeah.
Tyrese?
Sure. Yeah.
Tyrese is just gonna lose it, like Tyrese, whatever in the future, but he's just gonna lose a bunch of games this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I don't think he's like he can project to be a good defender. And I think he will inevitably be a good defender just because he's long. And he has that big ass wingspan. But I don't know. I think Fred is very clearly the better defender and very clearly the better offensive player.
Okay. Yeah, Fred VanVleet or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Hey,
yeah.
Give me
Shai. Yeah.
Shai is an MVP in a few years. Let's just
please give me a healthy season, man.
Just one.
Just one healthy season. I just need him out of the grasps of the Thunder and onto a team that is trying to win some basketball games.
Can you imagine they trade him and then all of a sudden he never gets injured again? It's like a curse over there.
Do it to the Raptors, dude. Let him be healthy over here. He can, you know what? You can even take some games off, dude.
Yeah.
Load management.
Relax, dude. Like, kick back. I know NBA players love to go to Cactus Club. Take an extra night off there. Do whatever you want to do, man.
Okay, the next
it's
player.
Not a good spot. I don't know why people like Cactus Club. By the way, food's not even that great. But anyways, continue.
Gary Trent Jr. is the next name here. Gary Trent or Marcus Smart?
Marcus Smart very easily. Yeah.
That's a piece of cake for me, dude.
Yeah. Like it's not even close, by the way, but yeah.
Can you imagine Marcus Smart on these Raptors?
Woo! Oh my goodness.
Days.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
Okay, Gary Trent or Tyler. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They'd love him too, because like
he's gritty.
Have the Kyle Lowry thing again, where this guy is an insane person, but in the best way possible when you're cheering for him.
I've said this a million times, but like Raptors fans would love Marcus Smart if he was a Raptor. Like
Kyle
absolutely
Lowry
adore him.
Tried to crawl through George Hill's legs. The only other player in the NBA who would try something so unabashed is Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
100%. Okay, a little bit more of an offensive player here then. Gary Trent Jr. or Tyler Herro?
Herro. I go Herro. I think Herro is he's already gotten better as a playmaker. And I think he is better as a playmaker than Gary. I don't see that happening with Gary. Maybe it does, but I don't see that happening. I think his pick and roll playmaking is a lot better in that sense. I think the shooting is also, in my opinion, a little bit better. I think he's just a better scorer. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think Trent is a little bit overrated. I don't think Herro is that great, but it's not like it's super. It's not that big of a difference, is what I'm saying on the defensive end. So I'm going Tyler Herro.
Yeah. In my mind, Gary's a better defender, but I also do think that Gary has more cachet as a defender because of steal numbers and because of deflection numbers, and the numbers about gambles and the points that they lead to aren't publicly accessible the way that deflection numbers and steal numbers are. So, but I do think Gary had marginally positive defensive season, which is a big deal, and it's much better than Herro as far as that goes. But Herro was a guy, when I watched the Raptors playoffs last year, and I see how Gary, when the defense shifts to Pascal and the ball comes to him, how it's either the catch and shoot if enough space was created, or it's like a pump and into the mid-range, and it just ends there because Gary's not creating looks for others from that point, and he's also not going to be able to go to the rim. Herro is a guy who will zig and zag into the paint, create laydowns for bigs, make a pass to the corner, like a little skip pass. Not that that's the end-all be-all of playmaking, but it's a nice little feature. And he can run the pick and roll, dude. Like, and he'll use the extra dribble. He'll draw the drop defender up. He'll throw a lob. But it's just, there's way more offensive utility there, I think. And Gary definitely, as far as, you know, where toughness and percentages overlap, Gary probably had a better shooting season than Herro. But I think Herro, there's just so much utility in his shooting, and roughly the same amount in conventional sense, in a conventional sense as Gary as well. So I'd go with Herro.
I also think there's ways to engage Herro on defense to make him better than what he is. I think like the on-ball stuff is completely fair, and he could get bullied, but I think off-ball, especially with the way that the Raptors like to play this read and react chaotic type of defense, there's no reason for Herro to not have, I guess, a similar type of defensive season to Gary. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But yeah.
Okay, the good thing you said defense again, because we have Gary Trent or Herb Jones.
That's a really great that's those two players. I've never heard them spoken in the
same sentence very before. Different types really of players. Fun. Well, so I guess we're just saying for this season, because we're not projecting forward into what,
like who they are as a player.
I'll say this.
Yeah,
I'm the guy saying that they should start Precious instead of Gary. I would be an ass if I didn't take Herb instead of Gary.
Yeah.
And using the same he'll shoot some of the time, he can attack a closeout and get to the rim, and he's incredible on defense. Yeah, I think I would have to take Herb Jones over Gary. This sounds like a bloodbath for Gary, dude.
Yeah, I'm looking. He's getting swept.
It's not looking tough. It's not looking good. I think I would still take Gary if we're doing right now. I really love Herb, and I'm actually in the same boat as Samson as saying like, hey, let's start Precious over Gary. But I do think the shot making is something that's necessary for this Raptors team this year if we're starting them tomorrow. Whether it be off the bench or whether it be starting. So I do think that is a necessary kind of like archetype of a player that's needed on this team. So yeah, I'm gonna go Gary, but I don't like it. I don't like that I'm picking.
It makes it feel dirty.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
How about Gary Trent? Okay, I don't see how he loses this, but let's see. Gary Trent Jr. or Caris Levert?
Oh yeah, Gary.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to put that there because. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so interesting. Such a strange collection of movements and talents.
Herky jerky.
Mm-hmm.
Herky jerk, amoebic, but he just does not put it together often enough. Sometimes he just wows the hell out of me with some incredible playmaking, or he'll break dudes down. But it's just like mentality. Not to do the psychoanalyzing thing, right? But mentality and how you approach the game is so important to your outcomes. And Caris, there's a lot of decision-making gaffes. And at least Gary's is it's the same decision. It's to shoot the ball. And so at least you just get that. Gary is not, outside of Gary, taking it to the rim in transition, that can be tough a little bit. But Gary, rarely are you going to throw your hands up the decision making from game to game because you kind of know what you're getting. And last year, what you were getting was a good play. Caris probably did not qualify as such last year, unfortunately.
I think Caris is a very big ball stopper too. So if we're talking, like, Gary has his moments like that. That's not to say that he doesn't.
He's throwing it up there, dude.
Yeah,
like,
but he's just trying rocket launcher type. Yeah, he's just trying to let it fly. But like, Caris has a lot of moments where he'll stop the ball and then he'll go into this 10-second ISO type of play, and that's nerve-wracking. I absolutely hate that. So I'm gonna go with Gary.
Yeah. Okay. So Gary Trent or Norman Powell, bringing it back.
Wow, the throwback.
I imagine, and it typically does come back to this for me, but Norman Powell has been on. Nobody has said it out loud, really. Only a few people, but he has been the NBA's best bench scorer for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Run him off a pin down. He will turn the corner. He'll punch a gap, dude. And then he'll bang it on a big's head. Yeah. Or he will catch the ball, spot up. If the guy cheats it, he'll backtrack it, turn it into a flare. And it's the same problem. It's like, will he punch the gap? Will he hit the three? He hits every catch and shoot three. He kind of works some pick and roll craft into his game. He can pull up a little bit. There's a little bit of isolation in there too. Norm is undoubtedly a significantly better offensive player than Gary, but Gary is a better defender because he actually cares about defense as currently constructed. Yeah. Norm is just there for the vibes. So that's like a.
So are you picking Gary or Norm?
Dude, that is like a coin toss for me. Norm, man, I bet Norm, he could very well be like a big piece on a championship winner this year. So I gotta go with Norm probably. But Norm gets paid more currently, so the market reflects that. So I don't feel too bad about it. And Gary is way younger. If you tell me like who do I want on their next contract, probably Gary. Yeah. But this year though, give me Norm.
Yeah, I mean, I think under the same idea, I would probably go Norm, but that's because of what the Raptors need Gary to do on offense is what Norm can do currently on offense. So I keep going back to like, okay, how does this player fit on the Raptors? And if we're going based off this year, a guy that Samson just described perfectly as a guy who can do all these things is what you hope Gary Trent Jr. can one day do, on top of the rim pressure stuff that he already adds. And I don't think Gary will get that much better in that area or get to the level Norm was. So yeah, I guess go Norm as well. That's a tough one though.
That's a tough one.
The trade happened and all that, but yeah. No.
I understand why Raptors fans take the victory laps.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they have team control of Gary for years. But we'll see what Gary's next contract, and I hate doing the contract thing, but if you're comparing players, then that always comes into it. But it's like, how much better was Gary on this contract versus Norm on his? And that's typically the value when you look at like trades, is the immediate contract thing. And also there's the overlay of, do you think you'd be able to get this player in-house if you didn't trade for him? Do you think, free agency, Gary Trent Jr. comes to the Raptors? Do we think that he'll even stick around?
Yeah.
The extension, there's player option. We'll see.
Question mark.
Yeah. Gary probably wants a bigger bag. So
I think where people think that the Raptors won that trade is because Norm is not even on Portland anymore. So they just feel like they just traded Gary just to trade Gary.
Portland was like geriatric, dude.
Yeah.
I don't blame them either. They're like, hey, we have Dame Lillard, and Dame Lillard was like, no, you don't. And they're like, oh, it's tough to be this team without you, dude. This was with you in mind. We got Robert Covington. You like Robert Covington. Surely you do. He's like OG, but not as good at anything. You said you liked OG, and then Robert Covington, they're like, well, we don't need Robert Covington anymore because we're actually interested in being bad at basketball. And then Dame was like, do you guys want to be good again for me? And then, yeah, it's just everything's up in the air there. Apparently, Keon Johnson had a nice summer.
Yeah?
Maybe that's
Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Keon. Good job, Keon. Big fan. I really wanted the Raptors to take a swing at him, but it's what it is. Keon Johnson.
He worked out for us, right?
Mhm.
Keon Johnson, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so next name, OG Anunoby.
Okay.
Do you want OG or Lou Dort?
OG.
OG.
Very.
Dort is a fire hydrant, though, dude. He rocks, but he
Yeah.
doesn't rock nearly as hard as OG.
No, I mean, it's funny that this is kind of the same thing with Norm and Gary. It's like you hope that Lou can eventually do some of the things that OG can do on offense and defense. So like, yeah, it's OG.
Okay, OG or Jaylen Brown?
Whoo-wee, that's a fun one. I'm gonna go ahead and for this Raptors team say Jaylen Brown. It's gonna be a tough one, and I understand the off-ball mishaps, the dribbling with can't dribble with your left. I understand that, but hey, OG also struggles with his handle every now and then. It's not like he's the most adept shot creator for himself yet either in isolation. I think Jaylen Brown is who I would pick. It's a tough one. I feel like Samson's gonna go with OG, but I'm gonna stick to my gun. I'm gonna say Jaylen.
Okay, so the understanding here, I hope any Celtics fans who are watching understand that I don't perceive Jaylen Brown as the 22nd best player in the league. I perceive him.
Hey, I'd like to clarify that as well. I've hammered it a million times that he's not that he's not that guy, pal.
So
Sorry,
I'll
go ahead.
say, I know the perception would be that I'm about to pick like the 44th best player in the NBA over the 22nd best. And I'm here to tell you, I do not agree with your worldview in this sense. I think I'm picking what people should conceive as the 44th best player in the NBA over like the 37th. And it's because I'm imagining a Raptors defense that is completely dependent on players paying attention to their teammates getting beat and feeling responsible for a form of rotation. And I'm imagining Jaylen Brown being asked, like, pay attention to it all so you know who to rotate for. Because sometimes the rotation is 2 rotations away. That's the way it works. Sometimes you're bringing the dude, he's bringing the dude, and then you're shooting off, and there's the dude over there. And Jaylen Brown has not given any inclination that he cares about off-ball defense in the slightest. I imagine
At
he
all.
would
That is
blow up
true.
actions for the Raptors. And so I think in a vacuum, Jaylen Brown is the better player. However, I do not think that he would make this Raptors team better than OG does. Plus, OG could still pop, dude. He could still pop.
There's hope. Okay, next one. OG or Mikal Bridges?
OG.
OG. OG.
Second.
Yeah, OG.
I don't know. Phoenix Suns.
I think
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. You
No, I was just saying, like the Phoenix Suns fans, I see on their Twitter, they laugh at the idea that people say that OG is better. So it's interesting that you guys are just like, nope, OG. So I just like to hear your guys' take on that.
It's because he's their OG, you know,
Yeah,
he's their beloved, you know what I mean? Like guy that they love, goofball type off the court that just has this two-way ability. I mean, not necessarily two-way because the offensive stuff is coming, but like their defensive anchor in a lot of ways on the wings. So I don't know. I think it's clearly OG for me. I think the shot making, the catch and shoot stuff is much better for OG. I think the ability to kind of be this bully ball type of guy that Samson has talked about ad nauseum, that kind of just can get to the rim and be this post player who can create a little bit in the post. I think those are some areas that Mikal Bridges just does not have. And for that reason, I go OG.
And also, the thing is, like Mikal Bridges makes really great decisions in the Phoenix set actions. He did not play in a read and react offense like OG does. Imagining Mikal getting the isolations that are forced on OG and Pascal, and those types of guys, they're like, hey, create. I know Phoenix Suns, when they fans, when they compare these two players, they say I don't know what unassisted rate is, that doesn't exist. But it's like one of these players is asked to create significantly more than the other. And one of them is running like pin downs off of, this Spain action that involves Chris Paul and Devin Booker that the other team is literally pissing their pants trying to defend. And then Mikal Bridges a little catch and a little drop dribble to the rim, or maybe I shoot this little midi.
Yeah.
It's just a different ask. But Mikal also rocks. It just, he has a very friendly context currently. And the Raptors were like, hey, OG, if you want to score, do it against everybody. It's different.
Okay, next one. OG, RJ Barrett.
OG. I'm going OG pretty easily. I just finished up a video on RJ, and that's gonna be coming out on Friday, folks. But nice. I think it's very easily OG for me. I think there's a lot of ways that RJ has to still get better, especially offensively. I don't think the difference offensively is that crazy. And in terms of the shooting, they're both good shooters, but OG is a better shooter. Creation wise, I think they both have miles and miles to kind of take leaps in. I think RJ is a guy that needs to get set up a lot, and right now I would say OG is probably a guy who can do a little bit more for himself than RJ can. So I would say pretty clearly OG. And on top of that, look, OG is the better defender. I think RJ has gotten better on defense, and he's New York's premier wing defender, but for the Raptors, it's very, very easily OG.
Yeah, I'm taking OG as well. I wouldn't be surprised if RJ ends up a better player, but yeah, I would be surprised if he's a better player this year.
So the Raptors essentially,
I look and I'm saying the RJ, and look in the video, I'm saying RJ's prime for a breakout season. It's just if he can kind of seize the moment and take advantage of this current roster construction that he has, playing with another point guard. Finally a point guard who can kind of create for him, have be a floor spacer, etc. All that is going to be great context for RJ. He probably will have a better season than he did last year, even though he did improve as well. But yeah, I'm still taking OG, man.
That's interesting how the Raptors' fourth best player, technically, give or take, is better than the Knicks' second best player.
Third best player, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, who's the second? Jalen Brunson?
No. I'm saying the Raptors' third best player. OG is the Raptors' third best player.
This is what we talked about at the party, man.
Oh, everyone looked at me like I was a ghost when I said I like Scottie over OG.
Which is fine. You say I want Scottie for the future. I want to invest possession into Scottie. I think Scottie gets to that point. Yes. But OG cans triples, finishes everything at the rim, and defends the hell out of his position. It's just tough to be better than that guy without jumping into all-star status.
Okay, who's a better rebounder?
During the regular season, it's probably Scottie, but we've seen OG as OG held down a front court in the Celtics series. He and Pascal held down the. OG is a very underrated rebounder.
But who's better, Scottie or OG?
I think that Scottie is positioned closer to the rim in offensive actions and gets to hunt them, whereas OG is positioned above the breaker in the corner for spacing purposes, whereas Scottie's typically dunker spot or at the elbows. So I think the skill of rebounding, OG, I would say that they're about the same. OG's a tremendous rebounder.
So who's a better ball handler? Who's a better ball handler?
Scottie.
Scottie is the better ball handler. Yeah.
Okay, who's the better playmaker?
Scottie. Yeah.
So you're saying OG's better than Scottie because he is a better 3-point shooter and defender?
Well, yeah. And OG is very important to the health of the Raptors offense in the same way that, Gary Trent Jr. is. In some respects, right? Is you need spacing to some degree. OG is a guy who not only does he space well, but he can take advantage of a weak side zone that's not going to count for a cutter. OG can take OG when he gets downhill, he's a really good passer on laydowns or out to the corner and stuff like that. He play makes in that sense because he gets advantages because of his 3-point shot that Scottie really doesn't. Like Scottie getting an isolation and being way better at isolating than OG, for the record, but an isolation that the defense is more or less okay with giving up, versus OG like a pump and drive where the defense is like, everybody shift over, we have to rotate. And then like a little dump off to Precious or Cam or maybe Scottie for a dunk. It's just like they have different avenues to success currently. And OG, when he's not being stretched into all the isolation stuff, is just like this. He's this hemorrhage of really efficient offense. Like if he just plays his role, you may get like between 17 and 20 points per game on 60 plus true shooting percentage. It's just really easy for OG to be overwhelmingly positive on both ends. But I wouldn't, if I'm selecting a guy for the future though, I wouldn't pick Scottie. But I wouldn't be surprised if OG has a more positive impact this season.
You mean you
But
would
I
pick
wouldn't be
Scottie,
surprised
right?
the other way.
You mean you would?
Yeah, I'd pick Scottie for the future.
Okay.
Did I say
Sorry.
wouldn't?
I
That is
don't
not
know
Freudian.
if you did, but I didn't catch it.
No one clip it as such.
I mean, I think there's a, like, given what we know, given how the Raptors talked on media day about, you know, giving more reps to Scottie, giving him the ball more, I think there is a chance that Scottie can be better this season, but it would just take a, like Samson said, an all-star type leap. And if that happens, sure, great. But right now, like, as September 27th, 2022, it's OG who's the better player.
Man, I respect your guys' opinion. You guys have good points, but I can't see it.
It's totally okay to disagree.
Yeah.
on this
Yeah,
point.
I can't see
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
I just feel like the same argument, like that you say, like OG's not that far behind Scottie in that sense. I think Scottie this season, we could see him not be that far behind on the defensive end. We might, you know what I mean? Like might not see him as far behind as a 3-point shooter. It took OG a while to get better at the 3-point shot.
I just think OG is very far ahead in terms of the 3-point shot, in my opinion. Just because of what he can do as a catch and shoot player that Scottie has not honed in on yet. And look, that's fine. He's literally entering year 2. It's not like we're expecting him to be that type of player yet. But at the same time, I think OG is a much better shooter. I think in terms of the defensive side of the ball, OG is, like, individually in a vacuum the Raptors' best defender, probably, right? And maybe some may argue Fred, some may say Pascal, but, like, I think in terms of one-on-one perimeter defense, there's not a guy you're picking other than OG to guard the opposing guy's best player. Is Scottie going to get there tomorrow, next year? I feel like that's a big ask. So, yeah.
I don't think, like, OG is all defense level. He should have been picked prior. He should have been picked in the shortened 2020 season. He or Mark should have been picked. Probably both, to be quite honest with you. He's at that level. Scottie has to improve measurably, like all over, as far as defending, to get close to that. Because the difference between OG and like a marginally positive defender, which is what Scottie ended up being, is a chasm. Like, we saw OG step out on Trae Young not beat him, and then get blocked on his jumper. Like, keeping up with that dude and then closing the space to block it, and then the next time Trae came down the court, he tried to get to the rim and OG blocked him at the bucket. Like, that's Trae Young. Nobody hangs with this dude. Certainly not Scottie. And Scottie probably will never. He's just a different type of defender than OG one-on-one. And OG also, like, this is way back when I was doing not the Scottie deep dives, but the OG deep dives defensively. This dude suppresses superstar. Like, LeBron, when he plays against OG, he takes less shots. Paul George takes less shots. Jason Tatum takes less shots. When OG's on you, you take less shots because you're not going to beat him as often as you beat other players. And then off ball, the importance of OG, and fans will see it this year, and they've seen it years before, is like when he tags or when he guards the nail or when he's being a ball hawk above the break, he blows up possession after possession. He's such a good defender. If Scottie gets to that level, not only this year, but in his career, I will be so impressed with Scottie. Like, Scottie, if he gets, considering what he might end up doing offensively, who knows the way that dude grows, if he gets to all defense level,
that's an MVP right
yeah.
there.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
It's just, OG is so good at the unspoken stuff. basically.
All right. So sorry, we went off on a tangent there. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. That last one for OG, and then we're gonna talk about Scottie, and then we're gonna talk about Pascal's comparisons.
Cool.
So, OG or Michael Porter Jr.
Fully healthy Michael Porter Jr.
Well, yeah, going into this year,
I can just
yeah.
say OG because I already did like the whole like. I was like, let me tell you about this guy. So I'll just say like, hey, revert back to like the explanation I already gave. Yeah, I would take OG over MPJ.
I think I would too. I think MPJ has a long way to go defensively, and that's just because his back has like sciatica, like whatever it's called, right? It's just insane. Sciatica. Thank you. Yeah. So no, his defense needs a lot of work, and on the other side, like Michael Porter Jr. is a really tremendous shooter, but OG can shoot. OG can be your catch and shoot guy as well. So I'm gonna pick OG on that end.
Okay, and next guy here, my beloved son, Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes or Evan Mobley?
Oh, I hate you, man. I hate you so much. You're gonna make us. They're gonna come with pitchforks and knives and
I know.
fire and all that into our mentions. God damn it. We're just saying for this season, right? Then I'm gonna be very safe here and say Scottie Barnes.
That means you wanted to say more.
No,
I'm not gonna pull it out.
I think in the future there's a very good chance that like Mobley becomes the better player. I think that's fair to say. Like if it happens, there's so many like ifs, ands, and buts about it. Like you know what I mean? Like there's potential in every type of scenario for their careers to go one way or the other. But I think right now. Man, but on the Raptors, Mobley,
that'd be nasty.
That's such a tough situation because he would solve so many different scenarios for them. They wouldn't have to play as chaotic of a defensive style. They could still switch on every scenario. There's still playmakers. Pascal can do whatever. There's a lob threat for VanVleet. God damn it.
That's a tough one.
I'm still gonna go Scottie. I'm gonna pick Scottie, but yeah.
Listen,
you know, I'm done. I'm just done.
I'll say Mobley. Okay.
All right.
I'm not a coward. All right. But let me say this though. I think Mobley is headed into the Hall of Fame. That does not descent upon Scottie. Like I don't care about Raptors Twitter like finding B-ball index defensive versatility grades. It's like, yeah, give something a letter grade, dude. They're like, yeah, oh, well, he was like an A+. It's like, what the hell does that mean to me? I watched every game. What are you saying, dude? Like, everybody on the Raptors is an A+ in defensive versatility. And, like, Mobley's a better defender. And, you know, Mobley's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Scottie could as well. I just feel Mobley is just such a home run, dude. That dude is so big, so good with his foot speed, so good at, you know, keeping up with bigs with his length, keeping up with guards with not being as fast, but being agile with length. You know, the jumper, if you feel like Scottie will develop a jumper, don't be biased. Say that Mobley probably will as well. Yeah. Mobley isn't as creative off the bounce. He's not more creative than Scottie, but he's more creative than most 6'11" big men who come into the league. So it's just like, I don't care about saying that I think Mobley will be better than Scottie. Mobley was selected before him. The Raptors, if they had a chance to, because Scottie surprised everybody. If the Raptors had a chance to select Mobley,
they would.
You don't think they would have taken that dude?
Yeah, they would have.
I can't, like, these are two guys who are just so surefire going to be stars. I'm just like, Mobley is going to have an awesome year on the Cavs. And Mobley would simplify a lot of things for the Raptors. And I don't feel bad about that because that doesn't mean Scottie's bad. Scottie is still.
I just don't want to get murdered. That's what I don't want to do. I don't want to get murdered. No, but you're right.
Be in your DMs, bro. You just gotta, you know, that's what's happening.
Swat them away. Yeah.
Mind you, the good news. This podcast is a long podcast, so this is buried. Unless Mac, if you clip me out saying I'm taking Mobley, which you might.
I'm just gonna put that once.
Yeah.
I won't even put context to it. You just put Mobley.
No, I think from the way that I explained it, you guys can tell that like I obviously want to say an answer that I'm still not gonna say. I'm leaning, you know, I have cowardice. I'm a coward. Okay, that's what it is. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I
Okay.
totally agree. I mean, Mobley is that guy, man. Mobley is him.
We'll do a lighter one.
Funny thing is, by the way,
yeah?
can I just say,
Mhm.
there's people who are going to be upset about us saying Mobley over Barnes. Sorry, me saying it. You didn't say it, okay? But there's going to be people who are mad at me saying that who also signed like the deport Pascal thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't care what you think, people. I've seen what makes you cheer. Boo at me all you want.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, next one. This is another big debate on NBA Twitter. Scottie Barnes or Franz Wagner?
I think Franz is severely underrated, and I don't know why. I do know why, but Raptors Twitter is like anybody who is in opposition is immediately hated, right? So that's how it is. But I think Franz is incredibly talented. I would still pick Scottie, because I think the creation ability of Scottie is just like leaps and bounds. Not leaps and bounds. Franz can do some creation as well, but like just creating for others, playmaking, that's something that I enjoy in a basketball player. And in terms of like personal preference, I'm gonna definitely go Scottie on here.
So at risk of sounding like another, white dude on Twitter, Franz rocks. Not like another white dude in particular, but just like white dudes kind of like hovering toward you and saying like Franz Wagner, But Franz is really great. And actually, like, it's good to disagree on podcasts. It makes it more exciting. I disagree with S about the creation. I think that Franz is better equipped to kind of ramp up his creation than Scottie, maybe, in the half court. But Scottie's playing on a team where he's going to run out in transition day gum, and he's going to play making transition, and Scottie's going to keep eating glass, and he's going to do things that Franz doesn't do, and Franz is going to do things that Scottie doesn't do. But I also think that Scottie has a higher defensive potential, and I think that Scottie, and this isn't to say he's going to be at OG's level. I'm not, going back on what I said earlier, but I think that Scottie is on pace to improve from last year, where he was already a positive defender, to an even more positive defender this year. And he's already playing winning basketball. Maybe the Magic make that jump this year. Maybe they're super interesting. Maybe they're last year's Cavs. Who knows? But I think that Scottie is playing more meaningful minutes. And despite Franz being better at some stuff, I still take Scottie because of what Scottie is good at currently.
I think like shot making is also a big thing here. Like Franz is look what he did in Eurobasket, right? Sorry?
Yeah. And
different types
making too. Like Franz is like, you go under on the it's a different 3-point line, of course, but it's like you go under on the pick and roll, and Franz is like that hard stop dribble pull, like what Darius Garland does, where it's like it's like a snatch back without snatching. It's the pickup snatch back, and Franz does that. That's a really elite move, especially for a guy of his size. But also, like, Franz will cut through a defense if there's gaps, but if there's not a gap, Franz got to pass it out. If there's in a gap, Scottie's gonna just bash through the brick wall, dude. He's gonna find a way in. Yeah, they're different players, but they both rock. But yeah, Scottie.
Okay, Scottie Barnes or Ben Simmons?
Oh, for this year, Ben is gonna be better. That's an all NBA defender who's surrounded by Kyrie, and like considering his on-ball skills, surrounded by Kyrie, KD, Seth Curry, Joe Harris, TJ Warren. The amount of like grab and go stuff where he's just gonna like jog it up the court and pass it to a dude and get an assist, and then it's gonna get to the point where it's like, okay, they cheat towards the pass and he's just like dum dum, like, and just flush it. And Ben is a really good cutter. You're working off of Kyrie and KD, like that's not just like, it's not bad of Scottie to not be better than an all-star level player this year, and
assuming health, hell yeah.
Yeah, as long as Ben is like feeling good and isn't like, oh my god, the idea of basketball is like giving me depression and I can't do it, which is valid. I understand why he felt that way. But if he's not in that headspace, if he's like, hell yeah, let me game, then like, yeah, that dude is an all-star.
And like
not better than Pascal, but he's an all-star.
Back injuries are always like a weird thing because they could keep reoccurring. So like if Ben is fully healthy, I totally agree. And I think a lot of the like skill set wise, what you see in Scottie is what you would think Ben would be, and that's not a disrespect to Scottie at all. I think the thing is that we want to make sure that Scottie can improve on the shot making side of things? Can he get better and better as a shot maker, as a creator for himself, in where Simmons kind of veered off the path there and kind of became more of a, okay, hey, he's a great defender, but he creates for others, can't really create his own shot that way. He's not going to be a pull-up shooter, etc. All those skills that we want Scottie to get better at, and we kind of project Scottie to get better at. So it's like, can Scottie end up in the future being a refined, more offensively talented version of Ben Simmons? Hell yeah, I think so. But right now, yeah, it's Ben Simmons. I bet Samson's like, I will say.
We're on comparison 18. Let me say, comparison is the thief of joy, people.
Yes.
If you've been enjoying this, shame on you.
So Scottie Barnes or Draymond Green?
Oh, I mean, assuming health. Yeah, that's a tough one. I really, really do. Like, I think Draymond is the best defender ever. I think he's legit, like, the smartest, most intelligent anchor I have ever seen on a basketball court. So I would probably go Draymond. Yeah. If we're assuming health, man, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know, if he can, his sciatica, damn it.
You obviously didn't watch the 1946 season of Marcus Finks. That's the best defender I ever seen. Yeah, I'm taking Draymond. He's too good at defense. And he's also, Draymond has gravity as a passer, which I know everybody kind of deservedly, it's like, LMAO, look at what happens when Draymond's on the short roll and the other team is like, come on, baby, shoot it. I'm ready to rebound. And they just turn around like this, you know? That's funny. But Draymond is still probably giving you more positive impact than Scottie this year. I don't know how much longer that lasts.
I see people make the argument that Draymond on any other squad wouldn't be as impactful as he is with the Warriors. Now, do you think there's any weight in that?
There's some, probably. You with Curry, you get to do things from a schematic standpoint offensively that you don't really get to do elsewhere. Like Draymond Green, if he's playing with, Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham, who Cade is going to be great, but it's like you're running a split action, the other team's like, okay, like maybe Killian comes off and he hits like an above the break three. Maybe Cade does it, but they're kind of chilling. They're not going to spasm and be like, okay, wait, and blow a coverage, and then like Draymond passes to Cade like with a back cut or whatever. It's just playing with Clay and Steph, and over the next couple of years, Steph and like Poole and Kuminga, and he's gonna get to make a lot of passes that he wouldn't be able to make elsewhere. But I also still think like if you put Draymond in the middle of the Raptors defense, that would be something else.
Offensively, where else Draymond would be fun? And I think it's kind of just like copy and paste, but with less talented players. Portland. I think that would be very like something that's similar, because you got Dame, you got Anthony Simons, you have Jeremy Grant that he can play off of. Like that would be a fun spot as well. But like that's just me thinking of where he can,
That would be really interesting, because the Warriors have one of the best pick and roll players in the league in Steph. Mm-hmm. And he does not run a lot of pick and roll. They're just doing off-ball actions. Yeah,
but Dame
is all pick and roll.
Yeah.
And you ask him like, "Hey, we want you cutting off ball. We want you doing this." He's gonna give you a discount, man. So like, Draymond is just the short roll king. He's not like the split action king. But I guess if you got like Dame and Anthony to buy into that, it could be
into the way that the Warriors play. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
He can't run pick and roll anymore, though.
Okay, next one: Scottie Barnes or DeMar DeRozan?
Very different players. That's a very picked players that people argue about. This is what you did. You picked the players that you're like, oh yeah, I see people go to bat for this guy.
Yeah,
I want, and people go to bat for everybody on the Raptors. Like Raptors Twitter. Yeah. They carry the bat. They're ready. And you're like, I want to put these guys in a situation.
I don't know. I mean,
DeMar.
Yeah, I think DeMar is the better player right now, but it's just so weird to say, because like they're completely different players. Like polar opposite sides of the spectrum. But like, yeah, I guess it would be DeMar. You know what I mean? It's like I don't even feel right saying it's like, yeah, it's DeMar, but like, are we doing this comparison right now? You know?
Yeah. I knew that I was gonna do that because DeMar. I'm thinking of it in the aspect when you put Scottie at the 3 and you have DeMar at the 3. Who would you rather at that spot?
If you're the Raptors right now?
Yeah. So I take DeMar, but it's just interesting because the start of these comparisons with Scottie is like the people who came out of the same draft class as him, and then like this all NBA level defender in Simmons, and then it's like quite literally just flipped to the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like an offensive powerhouse who could not be remotely interested in defending in action. You know, it's just kind of like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, all these like guys who do similar things to, you know, Scottie, and let's look at the margins, and then it's like these two players are nothing alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that purposely because I know every player that I named, like you said, they're pretty similar, more or less. And I wanted to flip it on his head to see where you guys' mindset is as far as how to build the Raptors core rotation.
Yeah, I would take DeMar.
Yeah.
And not going into the future, I wouldn't. But for one reason, hey, give me DeMar DeRozan. That guy's pretty great.
All right, let's rapid fire these Siakam ones. So Pascal or Zion?
Fully healthy, I'm taking Zion, man. Yeah.
I'm taking Zion as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Pascal or Karl-Anthony Towns?
Give me Pascal. I know this.
Yeah. You gotta take Pascal because Pascal is just the best player on the Raptors. He's all NBA. He orchestrates offense. Cat is such an incredible amalgamation of talent. Certainly has more than Pascal, but how you implement that talent and what the roster construction looks like, Pascal makes so much of what the Raptors do go.
Yeah.
And so many different things hit a red light as soon as that's Cat instead. I want to see those guys play together. That like
would be
my
very
dream
fun.
front court of all time is Cat and Pascal. That's what I want to see more than anything in the world. But yeah, I go Pascal. He's too important.
Pascal or Jimmy Butler?
I like that comp. I like that the comparison right there. For one season, I'm probably going Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I think it's tough to say like exactly why, but I think getting to the line is a huge aspect to this. I think the fact that he is really good on defense still is a big factor to this. It's not like it's going to be a massive drop off for me. And I think, you know, yeah, I think Jimmy Butler is just kick ass, man. He's just awesome. And Pascal's really good too. This is a tough one. I'm not saying it's very clear, but I'd probably go Jimmy Butler.
So this is interesting because I talked to, you know, Nekias Duncan isn't really a Miami guy at this point. He's a league-wide writer, but I talked to him about Miami, and I asked this. I said, I think that this is the comp for Pascal. If you were going to create a comp ever between who is the most similar among stars to Pascal, it's Jimmy Butler. They're both such basketball players. The way they work in the middle of the floor, play make from there, kind of grind in tight spaces, defend, go downhill. It's just, there's a lot of similarities in how they operate. Jimmy is a little bit quicker, but he doesn't have the same length, so he has different passing angles. He does more jump passes on the interior. Pascal does more like lay downs with length and that kind of stuff. But they both make a ton of shots in that middle area of the court, where it's like some people wouldn't consider it mid-range, or they'd call it short mid-range or whatever. But I think Pascal, this is an interesting question because this might be the year that Pascal surpasses Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
But every year prior to this, it's been Jimmy. Jimmy has been, you know, like a top 12 player just sitting there in Miami, just
and
doing
it's like
the thing over and over again.
Because like both of these guys have had inconsistent shooting seasons, right? Like Pascal had his All NBA season where he was just incredible from behind the arc. You know, he obviously had a little bit of a bounce back. The catch and shoot is an area he's developing. Jimmy has had seasons where he's been back and forth. So it's like that, to me, that could be a swing skill between these two, where it's like, all right, whichever one of these guys has a better shooting season, you know, is the better player.
Who wants to hit the 3-pointers this year? But for one season, Yeah, let me say Jimmy then, probably just for one season. But I would not be surprised if Pascal were better this season.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna skip one of the ones I put in because I think it's gonna be a sweep there. Let's do the final one. This one is a fun one. Pascal or prime Chris Bosh?
Pascal.
Yeah, Pascal, man. Pascal.
Although,
yeah.
like, I adore Chris Bosh's game because he was so underrated for so long. It's,
Yeah.
you know, Chris Bosh is the exact player nowadays who, if Twitter, the way that Twitter has kind of developed since the early days of Twitter when Bosh was popping off and was becoming intriguing, and then Bosh kind of set the standard for what a defender like Mobley looks like.
Yep.
The defender that the type of defenders that everyone freaks the hell out about now. The type of offensive player who could scale up in a moment but then scale down because he had more talented teammates. He did all the in-between stuff and he sacrificed. KG gets a lot of love for that. Bosh did it at a lower level, to be sure, but Bosh was he's ignored in some respects. But I also think Pascal is a better player. But I do just want to say, like, Bosh, man, that dude did not get the love that he deserves and still doesn't get the love he deserves as being, like a seminal figure for big men today.
I think the tagline for Bosh nowadays, and like you mentioned NBA Twitter, but I feel like I see this tweet all the time. It's like, man, if Chris Bosh played in this era, because people would love him. He would be beloved. Like all the things that Samson mentioned, there's just so much versatility that comes with a guy like Chris Bosh. And I think an underrated part about his career is the ability to sacrifice, because, not a lot of players can go into a situation playing with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and be like, hey, cool, I'm just going to not be the 20 plus point game scorer I was in Toronto for 7 straight seasons, So I think it is Pascal, but I think, like, if I'm picking prime Bosh, and I'm assuming for both you guys, prime Bosh is Raptors Bosh, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're assuming? Like, what year are we picking for prime Bosh here?
I would say
pick prime Bosh is a Miami year, probably.
You think
Like
over
Miami?
the 20 and 10 Bosh in Toronto?
He didn't revolutionize defense in Toronto.
Yeah, that's true.
In those years. And
yeah,
Bosh, like, just nobody really knew what it looked like for your 5 to blow up a pick and roll action and to, like, chase a guy, sidestep out with him to the sideline and then recover for like a rotation to the rim, and then for that guy to also run through like dribble handoff reads, and then also to like run pick and pop. And it's just like he got to do so much of the future facing stuff with Miami. The numbers were gaudier with Toronto for sure, but I think just he became the top 75 player with Miami.
Yeah,
that's
fair. I think like the reason I ask which one we're talking about here is because I don't think he was as good of a creator in Toronto. He was just very much more of a standstill guy. Like, not standstill, but like he could create his own shot off the high block and go from there and kind of be that offensive hub for you in an age where like people didn't necessarily consider that as a way to be a central hub. But at the same time, in Miami, he just became so much more versatile in what he could do, both offensively and defensively. So, I don't know. I was just asking which one you guys consider as prime. It's not really an answer to this, but I'm still taking Pascal either way. So,
okay, that's some good comparisons there. I think we are wrapping up. That was I don't even know how long it was. But it was a good one. Thank you guys so much for joining me. You guys did a hell of a job. You let me sit back, pick your guys' brains, and you just were great guests. You guys were very prepared, even though some of my stuff were curveballs. And I hope it was fun for you guys and for the people tuning in. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, if you like, I should have said this at the start. Damn it. But hey, man, keep tuning into Mac all season long.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a big year in coverage. He's gonna come hang out with us in Toronto and probably do some game stuff, get in around the Raptors and the 905 and all that kind of stuff. So just stay tuned with him, not just this year, but just his career as a person who covers sports. He's one of the best doing it. Just stay tuned. Things are happening.
Yeah, I got to double down on that. It's really cool to see like RR Raptors Republic just continue to like pump out just great people. You know, it's actually pretty incredible. So shout out to Mac. Put this in the beginning, man. Somehow copy and paste this and throw this at the front, and just like, you know, hey, listen to these guys rave about me. But yeah, no, support Max, support what he does, and obviously listen to the podcast and whatnot. You know, shout out to Samson as well. He's going to be doing his thing this year. Mr. on the ground, in the ground. But yeah, that's it.
And S, your episode's coming out Friday on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess so. Yeah, I've got a video on RJ Barrett. So if you're still tuned in, we got something coming up on Friday. But yeah.
Nice. So until next time, please remember to like, subscribe, and raise the vibe. Peace.
Peace.